Being here this morning. This is going to be a great hour. We're not going to go longer than an hour unless you guys clamor for it. But I know you guys have things to do, people to see. This is all about really about lead generation and getting that next deal. And the four folks up in front of you are excellent business owners. And the one thing we really liked about these four is really the diversity in business that's up here. As you could tell from the video, at least three of them that participated. You got a little bit of a glimpse from what will I had to take a shot at Krista. It just
peer pressured me and I was like, no.
What can you say? It's like my natural tendency. I work with teenage kids every day, so it works with them. So first, let's just jump in and say, just give me who you are and kind of your time in the business. And then I want you to tell me where your first deal came from and if there's any insight into that. Like ever.
And I'll go. I'm Vanessa Miller. I have been in the business since technically licensed in August of 2018, but I kind of started at the beginning of 2019. And at that time, I was really involved in my yoga community. I was a yoga teacher at that time, and my first deal came from someone at the studio who wanted to buy a house, and they trusted me right away, and it was pretty amazing. Gave me a good confidence boost right away.
Yeah. So you were the instructor at the.
I was an instructor there. I stopped. I had my son. So I stopped teaching, but I was still kind of involved and chatted with everybody about what my next move was, and I was going to get into real estate. And then this couple approached me and said they wanted a house. Yeah.
Super cool.
Craig Johnson. I've been in the business forever.
Forever. Can you remember your first deal?
I can't. Honestly, I can't. I'm pretty sure it came from an open house, but I'm not sure.
Wait, so what year would that have been?
Before they were born, March of 1986.
Wow. Yep. You got us by like 10 years.
I don't like you. That's how it is. Yeah,
There really are nice people here, I promise.
I was at least born then.
Brian Offerdahl, I'm actually with the home group, and I started about a year before COVID. So whatever that maps out to be. Yeah. And then my very first deal was an open house. It was my very first open house. Literally only had one set of clients through, and I signed them, sold them a house 2 months later.
Nice.
Wow. Very cool.
And I'm Krista Forsberg. I've been in the business since late 2017. And my first clients I got a month after I was licensed, and then they closed 3 months later, and they came from a referral from someone that I was on a volunteer board with. And I've since sold their house that we bought, helped them buy a new house, and helped his sister buy a house.
That's a pretty good first referral source there. Love that. Super cool. So the reason I like to ask that question is sometimes our business shifts over the years. Now, some of these folks obviously have seen success and they're doing a lot of the same things. We'll dive a little bit more into that later. Right now, where does most of your business come from? Let's say in the last 2024 plus this year, where is your business currently coming from?
I would say 99% either repeat business or referrals. I will pick up probably 1 or 2 deals a year from open houses. And I probably get 1 or 2 deals from like a random sign call or something.
In the open houses, how many open houses are you doing?
I tend to do them for every listing I have. Mm-hmm.
You're only your own listings, not.
I will once in a while do other people's listings. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I would say it's pretty evenly split. I'd say about a third is coming from open houses. About a third comes from Boomtown leads, which is our back-end system that does like Google ads and stuff like that. It's typically leads that are higher up the funnel that we work for a long period of time, but eventually kind of come to fruition. And then referrals would probably be about the other third roughly. So
okay.
And I do, as far as open houses, I try to do 2 every week, whether I have them for our listings or not. It's my goal. So
99% referral and repeat. Don't do open houses. And I get the straggler now and again, but I don't really go after that business.
I would say this year and last year especially were much more repeat and referral, because you'll start to see if you're newer in the business that like those people that were from yoga, I have now, like Krista, I've sold that house they bought. They've sold another and then bought it, or buying another and selling again this year. So it's that rotational, right? Like 5 to 7 years, people start to come back. So don't lose touch with your first peoples. And then I'm on a team called Reside, formerly known as Neighborly. And we do internet leads as well. So we have quite a bit of business from that. So Zillow and Trulia and
Okay. Knowing that, I'm gonna jump to understand like where the different lead generation platforms are coming from. What is a productive day? Or maybe for those of you who have like, it's more of a house focus, what does a productive week necessarily look like? Like you feel like you've really done a job.
I do a lot of Instagram stuff. If you follow me, you probably know that. So I do a lot of my lead gen on Instagram, which is not super. I'm trying to get more intentional about the conversations I have on Instagram. Sometimes that feels inorganic, so I try to keep it really like more authentic, which is just reaching out to people when I see some sort of milestone or some sort of event and I have messages going. And so I'd say a lot of what I do is much more passive and harder to track, because then suddenly somebody who I never knew was watching my stories will reach out and suddenly have someone that they want me to talk to, or they want me to talk to them. So it's a little less tangible, but I would say my productive days are when I know that I'm getting response from the social media.
What is your strategy with your posting in Instagram and why?
It's evolving, because as the algorithm evolves, I have to evolve. I'm not Alyssa, who is the funniest person on Instagram, and you should go follow her. I have a hard time finding that like cute, funny stuff. So I'm trying to do more I do more casual stuff. So I'm like trying to do more walk and talk reels. So I'll just literally I'm going on a walk around the lake and I pick up my camera or pick up my phone and put the camera on and start talking about what's on my mind, because I'm usually thinking about a million different things real estate wise. And I just record something that's like, what's going on in the market? Here's what I just saw. I just lost out in multiple offers, blah, blah, blah. So I'm trying to do more like just really talk to my audience, but on a place that stays, which I used to be doing more stories, which disappear. So I'd say my goal is to always post three times a week on my feed, and my stories, I post 10 to 20 stories a day, probably. So this is what I'm doing. And sometimes a lot of it's personal. I would suggest anybody who's looking to do Instagram stuff, put your personal life on there way more than your business. Like nobody's going to respond to your business stuff ever, but they will respond to your kid or the soccer game or the, funny thing that happened to you today or whatever that case may be.
No, if you guys have questions anytime, feel free to ask.
So on that point, do you have just one personal Instagram that you use for business,
Yep.
not a business?
Highly
and personal?
suggest using your own personal page. Again, nobody follows your business page. They feel sold to, and I think the algorithm picks up on it a little bit more too. So it's personal. So I'm Vanessa Miller _ realtor, but it is my personal page and my business page. But I think of my categories like entrepreneur or something. But yeah, I wouldn't suggest having two. It just gets confusing and people are lazy. They only want to follow one thing.
People are lazy. You take one thing away.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, anyone else? What does your successful day or productive day look like?
But for me, it's just, I need to do 50 conversations a week. So if I'm averaging 10, I know I've had a good day.
Who are those conversations with?
People in my sphere.
Okay. And do you have a system around who that is, or what is that?
No, for me, it's about energy. And so when I have high energy, I make those tougher calls. Then when I have lower energy, I call people that I enjoy talking to, which brings my energy level up, and then I can make calls.
So I guess my question is, do you know on a weekly basis who those people are?
I mean, I track it,
Yep.
who they are. but
Like
it's not
after you've talked to them?
Yeah. Yeah, so I used to have more of a system than I do now. I used to on Mondays call all my hot leads. Could be warm leads too, but I call it hot lead day. And Tuesday were all my current clients, and then Wednesdays were all my business associates, and Thursdays were my kind of just sphere, and then Fridays were my high energy stuff, because after a full week of calling people, I needed that day to just people that I really like.
So they're still partners, they're still clients, they're still leads that you're all categorizing and calling. It just, you track who you are. You don't necessarily have a system on the front end.
And I know for me, it just all works out in the end.
Well, I think the important piece is the tracking and understanding, you know, how many you need to get to in order to have a productive week. Right? So that's definitely the most important part. Okay?
I would say for me, if I look at the week, Monday for me is the most important day to have like a really productive in-office day. I have a routine where I'm emailing, calling all of my active clients. And so if I get that done for the day, it really sets me up for what has to happen with each one of my transactions and what's, needs to happen during the week. Plus it's a good touch point to make sure, if we're out looking for houses, clients know where we're at in that process, or if we're selling, what's going on with our transaction. And then the rest of the week, it is a little bit more fluid because it's about, what clients am I meeting? What appointments do I have? And then usually I'm working on either like a bigger project, like I'll bulk do, like I do weekly emails to my entire database, but I'll bulk videotape those and then set those up. So that's not necessarily something I'm doing on a weekly basis. I'm hopefully doing it only like once every 6 weeks. And then my other routine, since it's tax day, is on Fridays. I do what I call Financial Friday, but it's really like wrap up my week, so that during the week I'm not, paying a bill here, figuring out like some sort of follow up. And then I also do any thank yous that I have for the week. So I do handwritten thank you notes every week and get those out.
Can you dive a little bit more into what Financial Friday looks like for you, if you're open to that? Because I think this is a really.
I love Financial Friday. I love Financial Friday. First of all, I hashtag it in my actual planner that it is Financial Friday, because then it's more fun. I think in real estate, it's super easy. In life, it's super easy to not be excited to manage your finances. And so one of the things I find is that I'm keeping on top of any vendors I need to pay, any bills that I'm planning that would come in or, be pulled out of an account over the next couple of weeks. I have business accounts where I have sort of a main account, an account where expenses come out of. I have a long-term savings account and I've got a giving account. And so each week as I'm getting paid for transactions or I've got taxes coming out or other bills, I'm making sure all of that money is where it needs to be. And then I have a separate personal account that I'm moving money into. So I'm just staying on top of my finances. And then I'm tracking all my mileage on a weekly basis. And then on a monthly basis, I have a CPA that then I send all my receipts and things to, so she can true all of that up. And then I get my P&L balance sheet at the end of the month. And then it makes it so you can do your business taxes in February.
No.
And then as part of that, I look back at the week and figure out who I had meetings with or who gave me referrals. And so I can send all of those thank you notes out. Or if like I know a client had a baby or I've got a client, who has an upcoming wedding, I'll do all of that on Friday. I'll order closing gifts. And I just keep a running list throughout the week so that I'm not going into a system 3 times to do something. I'm just bucketing it together. And then I basically look at my whole week and ideally I'm wrapping up and having that to-do list up for Monday when I get back to my office. The other thing I would say is my goal is to work 30 hours a week.
Krista's more organized than the vast majority of us in this room are, I would say. But one thing I find really helpful from taking that organized model is it removes some of the anxiety over what is going on in her business. Because on Monday, she knows that, hey, it's active clients, right? This is the people this is my focus. On Friday, she knows these are things I have to get done. I don't have to worry about the rest of the week. And I don't have to worry about it next week because I know I did it previously. So
And I will say if it doesn't happen, like yesterday was one of those days where it was Monday. So I wanted to be in my office all day, but I had an inspection at 11. So I was not in my office for that. And then had an appointment in the afternoon where I was actually doing a networking meeting that I typically wouldn't do on Monday, but the person was heading out of town. And so I did that in the afternoon and then have a listing that's going live. So I did a follow-up staging appointment to get ready for photos next week. And so my Monday was a mess. And so I feel like this week is going to be bumpy all week because of that.
absolutely. Fine.
Well, similar to you, I mean, I think prioritizing your leads is obviously very important. So we kind of have a thing at Home Group where we water our leads and we kind of look at the most important stuff first, which is current clients that are under contract in terms of how we're going to get paid and making sure that everything's dialed in with those transactions. Then from there, I move to the next peg, which is essentially signed clients that are basically either actively looking or going to be listing soon. And then we have a tracker. And then so from there, I go to people that are, maybe I've met at an open house really recently, but haven't touched base with them yet, or actually signed them or set an appointment to get them into office. So I kind of move on to them next in terms of what's the next steps with those clients. And then from there, do I have anybody from the weekend that I met that I haven't added to that tracker yet to try and set an appointment? And then from there, the next ring on that would be like our Boomtown leads, which are essentially again higher in the funnel. I look to see who's been active recently on our website, looking at searches. And if I see that there's been a lot of activity, I'll shoot them a quick text or call of that grouping and try and set an appointment with any of those folks. That's kind of like how we work our leads in terms of that prioritization. And then it's just a matter of, all right, what activities do I have for the rest of this week? What does next weekend look like? We're just talking that we have a weekly meeting every Tuesday at 9 a.m. where we kind of set the stage of like what happened over the weekend, what's coming up, what open houses are available. Do we need to look outside our team for an open house, et cetera, and get all of that stuff on the books. And yeah, again, open houses is probably one of the biggest parts of my business that I enjoy the most. And I think it's, an amazing showroom and it allows you to have the most real estate conversations possible, people that are out actively looking. So very cool.
There's a question I had in there somewhere, but I forgot it.
I rambled too much.
No, you didn't. I'm sure it'll come back to me. All right, let's jump into, we've wrapped up quarter one of 2025. And I'm going to touch on this some tomorrow at our team meeting, but KW did a survey with top producers. And one of the things I found interesting on there is that 75% of top producers believed that 2025 was going to be a higher production year for them than 2024 was. So speaking for their own business, not the market in general, not nationally, but 75% of people believed that 2025 was going to be a bigger year than 2024. I don't know if that's on your goals or if that's what your belief is, but tell me about just how has Q1 been, and are you on track or not on track for what you have set out as goals for this year?
I had a really big Q1 in 2024. So I realistically didn't set the expectation that I would have a similar Q1. I would say my Q1 was similar to past years, which is on track, I guess, for my overall. Q1 was almost too busy last year, or it was like a lot at one time. And of course, I was on vacation for a lot of all of that coming in, so it was stressful. So I have not, Q1 was slower, but my Q2 is starting out a lot bigger because I think I realized, I think we play a lot of catch up in this business, right? You take your foot off the pedal for like a minute and it can go sideways. I think with all of the unease with the economy and are we gonna go into a session or not, blah, blah. I'm realizing I need to be a lot more proactive than I probably thought I would have had to be this year to that point, where I did think this year would be smoother sailing, more steady transactions, and I'm realizing I'm gonna have to fight a little harder probably to stay on goal.
So I would say, so I count in terms of the way I monitor my business. I mean, I do look at the total GCI, but I'm really more about units because I think that is really more indicative of the work I'm doing to bring in leads and where they might refer me in the future. In terms of closed deals, I'm off track for Q1, but when I look at what's under contract and coming on the market between now and June, I'm basically on track. So I'm thinking it's more of a timing issue. But as I monitor my business, it's absolutely something, I think about and monitor.
Kind of in that same boat, I closed deals I have through Q1 behind, but in terms of total signed clients in my pipeline, I'm on track. And I think I attribute that to, I came back, while I was on vacation in January, I came back with a specific goal to sign one new client a week, what was going to take to get me there. And I actually exceeded that till that next vacation. And so I think that has just kind of set the stage for success. So now I have that till our next vacation over there in July, and I have that same goal and I'm on track as well. So as long as I can kind of keep pace with what that is, and that's like, so basically one new client per week.
So you're gamifying some sprints in there to keep you on track or to get you back on track. Okay.
Can I chime in, John?
Yeah.
So I love that, Brian, when you have that goal of sign one new client per week. For the room, what kind of habits do you have to do that?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Well, again, making sure that I'm doing the activities, number
Yeah.
one, whether that be open house again, kind of a broken record there, or just following up with leads that I've had in the past, whether it's referrals or past business or what have you. And quite frankly, I've gotten fortunate where I've gotten some phone calls out of the blue where it was like a referral. And I mean, that's just part of being in it for as long as I have now, which is great. But I don't count on that. So I'm counting on the other activities that I'm doing.
Thank you.
I'm a little different animal. I pretty much don't work during the winter. I go fly around the country and watch my kid play hockey. So my year starts about now. And so I don't really have a track. I would say I'm off track based on last year with the number of appointments that I've had, and also with the people I consider for sure deals in 2025 is definitely less than it was in 2024 at the same time.
You do a lot more listings then?
What's that?
Like, you do a lot more listings?
I do more listings, but it's probably 60-40. Yep.
So this is a little bit kind of Matt's question to Brian. What do you guys do if your business is down? Like, what are you doing for a sprint? What are you doing to catch yourself back up? Like, what are those small things that you're going to tweak when you know you're behind?
Do you want my honest answer?
I do.
So my wife actually recognized this, but what happens to me is when I'm feeling down, I think I'm just going to get out of real estate. And then I think of other career paths and how nice it would be just to have a steady income where I know it all the time. And then I realize it'd be the same expectations. I'd have a boss. I can't take off and go see my kid play hockey. No, I gotta make this work. And I just gotta get back to work. I gotta start doing the job. And that's how I get back on track.
So there's a reality check that you have, whether it's with you.
You just let your mind go and it's like, okay, well, you're not doing the work here. The reality is when you're off track, you can pretty much always guarantee that if you look in the mirror, you're going to see the problem, at least for me. And because you can be busy or you can be productive. And I can be very busy, but not productive. So if I get out of this career, I'm going to have to be productive. So why don't I do it with a career that I can take time off and I can make a buttload of money and I can be my own boss? Like, well, yeah, I want to do that.
But I think this is a really, really important point, and thanks for being really honest, because I think there's a lot of us in the room that have those thoughts, right? Of why am I doing this? This is hard work and I can go get a steady paycheck somewhere else. The reality is we're gonna have to do the work, whether we're in a 9 to 5 or we're in real estate. So why not have unlimited opportunity in real estate? And plenty of people who have done it before that you can learn from to understand what the right things are that you need to do that are personal to you. These four don't have the same business at all, but they know exactly what they need to do to help increase that. So can I ask you, when you say get to work, does that mean increasing your conversations? Does that mean, like, what does that mean?
Pretty much right there.
Okay.
Yep.
So just an uptick in how many conversations you need on a weekly
And
basis.
because I'm not as focused perhaps as, some of the other people in here on my plan of who I'm talking to, sometimes it's easy to fall into the trap of talking generally to the same people. And you don't go as deep into your sphere as you need to. And that's where I start falling off. And it's like, no, I gotta get everybody involved.
So increasing your pool is big, is important.
And to really go deeper with the people that you are talking to. Are you having real surface conversations, or even if it's not about real estate, if you can find something to help somebody out with, they're gonna want to help you out. So just going deeper.
Julie?
I'd love to know how you shut down your business for the winter.
Just stop working.
If you're having a busy fall, how do you not keep going? I just don't understand.
So, there's a difference between working on the business that you have and doing the things that are gonna keep the pipeline going.
Yeah.
And so I just shift into just focusing on the people that are that need me right now. And I just stop doing the things that will
So if
create.
someone tells you they want to buy or sell a house, do you just say, oh, wait till March?
No.
But you do say, I can't work this Friday, Saturday, or Sunday because I'll be out of town.
Absolutely. I mean, when I first sit down with someone, I tell them, hey, I've got a wife and 2 kids, and if they've got something going, I'm there 100% of the time. And if there's any hesitancy or whoa on their part, then we have a discussion about it. And I say, other than that, I'm yours. I don't care if I'm working mornings, nights, weekends, days, but if I'm busy, I'm busy. And the people that I choose to work with are fine with that for the most part. Now, I was just out of town for a week, got back late last night, and I had some buyers that, it's a crazy market. So I had to have somebody come in and show them houses. So you always have to weather that storm, if you will, with having that backup person there and available as needed. But for the most part, my clients will wait for me.
What I find interesting about this conversation is, I'm gonna put words in your mouth, but I don't think you'll mind. It sounds like you don't consider working with clients work. The work is the lead generation. That's what I'm hearing you say.
Absolutely, 100%. That is absolutely.
Which I think is also the busy and productive part, right? Like, he's still busy, but he's just not in that productive lead generation aspect of the business. So very distinct difference there. Who else?
Servicing the lead, he's not creating it in that situation.
Well, let's get back to your question. Like, if my business is off, the first thing I will look at is like, well, what is my goal? Like, where did I set it? And then what was my plan to get there? And am I executing that plan? And if that's the reason why I'm failing is because I'm not executing what I said I was going to do, do I need to change those activities? Do I need to ramp up those activities, et cetera? There's a saying that I've heard many times over the years is a goal without a plan is merely a wish. And so I'm just wishing for people to call me and waiting around for my phone to ring. That's not really a plan. So if open houses aren't, and I'm doing everything and they're not getting it done, can I go out and proactively door knock a neighborhood? Do I have some buyers? I've had success with this with some clients where they wanted to live in a certain area and it was a townhome. Well, those are pretty easy areas to door knock, where we've done it a couple of times where we've actually found them a home that wasn't on the market and we got a deal done. So and I've gotten listings on the backside of that as well. So there's so many activities that you can do. And even if they're not bearing fruit immediately, you're still having great real estate conversations and getting better at your craft. So.
Can you give just a 1-minute plan of what you do around your open houses? Because what I often hear is people are just gonna do more open houses. The
Sure.
reality is, getting to an open house is just showing up for work. It's not actually working. So how do you guys do an open house that you're actually working, not just showing up?
Yeah, well, there's various degrees that you can do. I mean, you can really go over the top. I mean, in a perfect world, if I've never been to the house, I would love to go there ahead of time. Check that out. I would love to actually see some adjacent properties ahead of time so I can actually spin off of that. If I get a lead that this isn't the right fit for them and they're not represented, I can, talk intelligently about what's going on around there and possibly maybe get a showing after that if they would sign a one-time showing agreement now, obviously. But so that's been a little bit harder conversation to have there for immediate showings. But just getting it set that being an expert on that property, but also the neighborhood, going into InfoSparks on the MLS, learning like, hey, what's the average dollars per square foot for this neighborhood? What is the level of inventory in this neighborhood? All of those different various things so that I can have those good conversations and position myself as the expert with any of those potential buyer clients that are coming in that are not represented. Preparing buyer packets. We have these little nice folders that we have with kind of the buying step process and so forth that we can actually give if it's a serious prospect as well. Sometimes social media, not often enough with me, but I mean, we could promote it that way as well and kind of get out there ahead of time to talk about things that we would be doing or the times that we have our open house that weekend. Door knocking ahead of time, especially, like I said, especially if it's one of our listings, to go and actually meet some of the neighbors and invite them to a private open house on like a Friday evening to kind of kick things off, or just in general to make friends with those neighbors. We just had a listing up in St. Louis Park and invited some neighbors, and one of the neighbors came over and I just signed his listing. So, I mean, that stuff happens. It's real, and it's just a matter of putting in the effort. So, but those are just a few of the things.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. So it's really the pre-work into the open house that's happening.
And then tracking it afterwards. I mean, we have a really nice app that we pay for called Spacio, where people can come in and actually register, and then that will actually link to our back-end client management system. And it's just nice to kind of keep those from falling through the cracks, and they automatically get entered in, and then we can actually set them up on a search with similar home criteria. So even if they're not actively looking to work with me, it's just a way of showing value to that potential client to hopefully, worm your way in and have future conversations with them. Just follow up. So
that's more automated follow-up for, what is that called?
Well, Spacio is and it's not, I think the individual account is $25 a month, and we pay $100 for the team.
$100 a month for our whole team.
For the whole team, yeah.
Mhm.
So not.
And it works great on an iPad or.
For like registration.
I think we usually like to register them for them, so that we are talking to them as we're registering, right? Isn't that
A lot of
what you like
times.
to do? Yeah.
Then you catch their name easier
Yep,
too.
yep. And it's harder for them to give you like a fake phone number or email just because they're having a conversation with you. But,
Very cool. Thank you for sharing. Vanessa, Krista, what do you guys do to get back on track?
I would say, for me that it's, part of that monitoring your business is understanding first if you're on track or off track. And then I think about what are the things I said I was going to do during the year, and are those happening? And then, I'm really looking at my schedule and saying, well, am I spending time doing those things, or have I gotten distracted with personal things, or have I gotten distracted with like some shiny project that is maybe good for my business but isn't driving business? And so I just refocus. I think there are a lot of different marketing ideas. Like when we think about lead genning, there's a lot of different places, whether it's calls or open houses or buying leads or all these different kinds of things. And I would say being focused and getting good at one of those. And then as you're seeing results from it, then thinking about what is that next place you're going to add to your business plan. And so if I'm down, that's a time I might test it, something like that. where, I might say, okay, I've got, my level of business where I'm doing my emails, I'm doing mailings, I'm doing, kind of all of those regular things that I do. But then I have an idea list of things where I'm like, well, maybe I would test into something. And when my business is down, that's a time I'll put some more energy into seeing what might work to drive business.
When you decide to do that, how long of a runway are you giving that before you say this is working or doesn't work?
It kind of depends on the tactic, right? Because some of them, just by the nature of them, that it's going to be a year-long process. You're making a commitment to it. I think, the things I'm most interested in trying are, building relationship networks and things. And so those don't necessarily turn into transactions the first week. And so you've got to commit and give yourself some time. And I think if you're seeing that your business is down and you want to do an activity, you've got to figure out a way to give a little bit more time to it.
I would just say it's that busy versus productive. I find that when my business is down, it's because I've been busy and not productive. Because you get caught up with all your current clients and all your things, and you've got all these transactions closing, and then suddenly you haven't talked to anybody but your existing clients, and then your pipeline is dry suddenly. Or I'm finding this year, people I was counting on in my pipeline have called me and like, there's too much going on right now. There's too much uncertainty. We're going to take a break. We're not going to do this. And then suddenly those that I counted on are not there. So I've been trying to be more intentional about going way back to people that I have not talked to in a while. And those are difficult conversations. To Craig's point, I think I'm going to use that energy situation a little bit, but I have recently reached out. I started, like I said, I'm good on video. I'm fine with video. I actually hate talking on the phone. I'd much rather FaceTime or be on video or whatever. So I went back to a bunch of old leads who I just hadn't talked to in forever. And I sent them each an individual video. I just recorded like a 1 minute, hey, last time we chatted, we were talking about XYZ, whatever. Not one of those people got back to me, but literally within the next week, I had 3 new clients. So I think there is like something to be said for that energetic, like getting out there. And like, I don't know, it sounds cheesy, but like it feels like none of the people that I signed after that were any of those people I talked to, but I was doing the things to just get my business back out there and get my energy back out there, where I think people were reminded, oh yeah, she's in real estate, where I think sometimes when you're down, you're not putting that I'm in real estate, come talk to me like vibe out there. When you put it out there, I really truly believe it comes back. But it's hard. It's hard when it's not tangible like that, where I'm like, I don't know where these people came from, but I know I was doing the things to make them come to me. Just wasn't talking to them. So
Harder you work, the luckier you get.
yeah, right. True, yeah.
Positive energy gets positive energy.
Ari Lundin refers to it as sweeping.
Yeah, I was
the
gonna use that analogy, but
yes.
I was sweeping the water and
Yep.
somebody called me and was like, oh, hey, out of nowhere.
Absolutely. So the next 2 questions are going to be kind of similar but different. The first one is going to be, what are you spending money on currently? Like, what are you actually investing in currently for your business, whether it's events or buying leads or whatever? What are you spending money on currently for lead generation purposes?
So again, I'm on a team. So the team pays for our online leads. So I'm not personally paying for that. But what I personally pay for is again, back to social media. So I invest in it's minor, but it's like, I have Canva Pro, $13 a month. It's worth every penny. I belong to a website called Coffee and Contracts, which is, if you're looking to get into Instagram stuff, I highly recommend it. It's real. I think I'm grandfathered into it being like $55 a month. I think it just went up to something like 70. But they create a bunch of Instagram templates and buyer guides, and all of it is there as long as you have Canva and you can transfer it to that. It's a jumping off point for a lot of people where like you don't have to use it. You could literally copy and paste all of their stuff and be fine. I take it a little further and I try to like make it a little bit more personal. But if I'm again, if I'm busy and I just need to plug and play, it's right there. So Coffee and Contracts, I highly recommend.
So that's social media content.
Social media content, specifically Instagram. Yep. Those are my two. I mean, again, not a huge expense, and very, if that is the path you're working on. Malia.
We've seen that for like, especially starting agents, there's a lot of like those buyer contracts, like all of the things that you need, where essentially like if you aren't a part of a team, not branded, anything like that, you can download it and essentially like it is a really good starting, especially being a new
The
agent.
content is amazing. It's plug and play. You add your contact info. You can literally look like a professional on day one. And then I have used them and I have tweaked them a lot over time, but you could quickly just take one and
Pretty much all I spend money on is events.
What
How
goes
many
into
do you
your
do?
events and how do you put on events?
I do 4 events a year. I do, actually Thursday, days from now, I'm doing a whirly ball event. And then I do a mini golf and, ice cream truck event in the summer. And then in the fall, I do a St. Paul Saints event. And then I do an appreciation event in, Friday before Thanksgiving.
Can you give a idea of what that cost wise, as far as whether it's per person or?
No, well,
on those
kind
small
of depends, but it also, you can go out and get sponsors. You don't have to spend any money of your own money. And I do that. I still participate in the expense, but it's not all mine. But it's not about the event. The event is great because it allows you to go have some fun with people that want to hang out with you. But the power's in the invitation. It's easy to pick up the phone and call somebody, hey, having an event, you want to come? You know, how hard is that? And then thank you, or gee, I really missed you. Hey, I'm having another event, you know, try and come to that one. And so that's really where the power is, and it makes those calls really easy. And that's what I do.
Very cool. There should be between 7 and 10 touches for every event you have. So that's to the power of events. Very cool.
So piggybacking that, we do 2 events. We do a spring flower event that's coming up in May, and then we do our annual holiday party. Those are our 2 big whoop-de-doos. But again, the powers and the touch and the messaging and having those conversations and the sense of inclusion as well. But just in terms of lead gen, we do spend some money on Boomtown leads, but again, it's not like a Zillow lead or any of those where it's like this big percentage. It's pretty minimal cost. I think the average lead cost is about like $3 or something like that. And again, they're really high up the funnel, so we don't prioritize on those leads as nearly as much. But in terms of just other things that I mean, we run pretty lean. We don't spend a lot of money on things like that. Because like I said, we prefer to get it either through referrals or through open houses and things like that. But to spend some money on some flyers for door knocking, I think is money well spent. It's a very low cost. And again, it's direct contact, direct conversations with people. And yeah, I guess those would be kind of, and then like just a mailer. I mean, I just sold a townhouse, and Jeannie actually sold a townhouse in the same little development, met a ton of those neighbors. So we just did a follow-up letter to all of those kind of, because I knew there was a couple that were going to be selling. So just some guerrilla tactics like that, I think is, you know, something that's very mindful and purposeful, but kind of feels more organic rather than kind of mass mailer-ish. So. Okay.
So I spend money. I do a weekly email to my entire database of about 700 people. Within that, 2 of those have a video. So I have this little video guy who I pay to help take videos for me. I pay for MailChimp for that, for the distribution. I do 2 mailings to my, what I would call my past and current clients, kind of like a smaller subset of my database. One of those is just a postcard that's either about a listing or a testimonial or about the market. And then the other is more a letter, more about me, like a personal letter about what I've got going on. And that process came from some coaching I did a couple of years ago. And then I do events. I just did this really great bingo event benefiting Habitat for Humanity. was first time. I had sponsors who basically paid for almost everything. I had 110 clients there and their friends. We raised nearly $10,000, which was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
And then Brent and I have in the past, we will do, we participate in Shed and Trudge, so I send that out as one of the postcards I do. We do like a client night at an ultimate game in St. Paul. And then in the fall, we do a pumpkin giveaway to clients and then participate in Glow. And with each one of those kind of leveraging a touch strategy, I think one of the things Brent and I've talked about, particularly with those events, is like for the pumpkin event, they have to show up for there to be an expense. And so really the benefit is the invitations and the touching. I mean, I would love for all of my clients to come. I also don't care, because it's really about that invitation and having the follow-up rather than them showing up on a Saturday to pick up a pumpkin.
We've also changed.
We have
Like,
changed.
we've thrown some stuff out that either wasn't working or was inordinately expensive for her. So like, I think that's the thing, is don't be fearful, like try to get those things that can be consistent that people look to. But like the best thing about the pumpkin thing is we only pay for the pumpkins that get picked up. Sometimes I'll have 4 people come and she'll have 30. And
then last year you had like
the other
30 and I had 4.
But we also did Pie Day pizza
Mhm.
and very expensive,
Mhm.
not a great
Turnout.
and so we just sort of like, screw that. So
Yeah, we did an ice cream check one year. I've done events with for a couple of years. I did a style event with a stylist where she talked about how to organize your closet and dress for activities. And it was a ton of work and really expensive and didn't really see the return from it.
You did that, like,
I did it 2 years, but probably 4 years ago.
You had one good return on that one.
Oh, that's true. I did. That's, actually, I should say, so the best deal I've ever had will come from that.
I'm like,
so.
But from the stylist, not the
Stylist, not the people. So.
Just had to remind you of that.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I spend money on. I mean, I have Canva Pro, I have Follow Up Boss, MailChimp. I have I have a social media person that I pay to do Facebook posts because I refuse to do it. And then I've got a marketing person who helps me.
Follow Up Boss.
Follow Up Boss versus Command.
We use Follow Up Boss. And then the other thing I forgot that I also pay for is Flowdesk, which is similar to MailChimp. It's like a email, it's very pretty. I'd say it's prettier than MailChimp. MailChimp I think is easier to use. I've tried both. I do Flowdesk now because Coffee and Contracts does have templates, like monthly newsletter templates that you can directly translate to Flowdesk as well. But it's more expensive than MailChimp, I think, too. But
Similar question, but different. If you were given a $500 check, would you spend money on these same things? Or is there something that you would invest in that you haven't yet?
I really want to do something more like what Krista does with her mailers to her sphere and past clients. I think I don't spend enough time working that part of my business. Because again, the momentum happens and you're with your current people, and then suddenly it's been 5 years and you see that they sold their house without you. Hasn't happened that much, but it does. So I want to do, like, that would be my ideal for that money.
Your anniversary letters.
I did send my anniversary, and see, I'm starting that, and that was free. So except for postage. But something like that, that's a little bit more personal, that's not as much real estate-y, but a touch that is more consistent is what I would be doing.
Okay.
And plan to do.
Anything
should
else
say.
that you would spend that you're not doing? I know you just do another event once you, Craig.
So I think the question is, I would answer it 2 ways. Like if I was newer in the business, I would buy 100 thank you cards and I would start reaching out to your network and asking them to have coffee, and I would not, or happy hour, and I would not say, hey, I want to talk to you about real estate. I would say, hey, I would love to catch up with you. And then while you're there, ask about their job, ask about their family, ask about what they're doing. Inevitably, they will ask you about real estate. And that is your opportunity to say, I love it. It's a good time to buy or sell. Do you know anyone who wants to do that? Or do you know a referral partner that I can work with? And then you send them a thank you note and you schedule a follow-up with a person they introduced you to. That was I spent my first couple of years in business. I had a goal of having 10 coffees a week. And that's how I grew my entire business. And so I feel like if I did a better job at that now, I would have a bigger business. So that would be my number one thing. Now, I probably still should buy 100 cards. I have those. And I'm testing into some things. I'm doing some like farming, but it's more than $500.
So farming would be something you're looking into.
But that's where my business is. Like, I'm just trying to test into that this year.
Brian, anything additional?
I love that idea of, because I don't follow up with some of my original clients as much as I can. We do it through a monthly newsletter and then obviously inviting them to events. But I guess $500, I mean, yeah, I kind of spend that on some of those things already, but I think I mentioned in my video to you is I would probably just buy some additional open house signs and invest in some things that are going to kind of level up that piece. Because again, it's my showroom and that's where I'm going to find business that's going to be probably more immediate, in my opinion.
Questions from the gang that's here? You guys got something that you're burning to ask or a thought?
I don't have a question, but I have a thought that we talk about on our team a lot. If there are like newer agents here or someone who's trying to get more business going, we come from a sales background, pretty much everyone on our team. And we always talk about how it's crazy that we are salespeople, really, in the relationship business and selling houses, and that we don't have to pay for our inventory. Like our inventory is given to us for free. Like $300,000, $1 million worth of inventory for free. So that's how we look at an open house, is like, this is our store or our showroom, and we get to do it for free. It's like amazing. It's like you don't have to pay for your inventory and you're selling something. So
Perspective.
that's how we look at open houses all the time. We talk about it on our team all the time.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Anyone else have a question?
I have kind of a two-part one. The first one, I just list, maybe it's rapid fire for all of you, because I think there are some new individuals in the room. I also think there are some experienced individuals in the room who feel like they're new because they may be off track. So then they're thinking about, okay, do I do those activities? So my first question is, when you were brand new, when you were in your first 6 months, and for Craig, it's March of 1986. I was just graduating high school. So
When I was 2.
So when you started, when you began in that first 6 months, in that first year, was there someone that you connected with? Because I think of people who'll be on teams, I think sometimes people feel like an island, but there's always an opportunity to connect with someone. Was there a mentor? Did you have someone that you went to when you had a question? Vanessa. Okay, great.
Right there.
Thank you.
I
Krista,
recruited Vanessa at an
Yeah.
open house.
But-
I love it.
Yeah.
thank you. So this is,
Awesome. I walked into her open house and she was
I was
trying
like,
to sell me
hey.
a house. I'm like, I just got my license back.
I was like, hey, do you want to join Keller Williams? It was a little smoother. than
What?
Barely. Yeah.
Barely. I was like, hey, do you want a coffee? We'll talk
Like,
about
imagine how organized Krista is, and she's like, here's how I chose this office, and she showed me all her spreadsheets with all the different offices that she looked at, and like, here's how much it costs you to be here, here's how much it costs you to be here, and I was like, well, you just did my work for me, and then I met Matt, and then it was like, okay, great.
all right, perfect. Thank you. Craig, how about you?
No, I mean, things were very different then. It was like, you get your license and go sell.
Yeah.
And, actually, all I did back in the day was open houses. I'd do 100 of them a year.
Cool. Thank you. How about you, Brian?
I joined a team right away, and so we had a team lead that we kind of leaned on as far as that guidance and so forth. And then once we were about a year in, we were doing well, so we peeled away and started our own team. So, and then Nikolai and I kind of feed off of each other as far as that goes. So,
Right.
but then obviously the leadership within the office here as well, of course.
All right, Krista?
So when I first started, a woman that I knew from college was a great mentor for me, Kristen Christensen, who actually Matt knows as well, which is part of the reason I ended up at Keller Williams. Pretty early on, I met Brent, who's always been a good, hey, what would you do in this crazy situation? How would you word this amendment? Have you run into this? How is there an abandoned well? Like, any of those questions. So I think having someone that you can use as a resource is really important.
Okay, my follow-up to this, thank you all. My follow-up to this is because there are some newer individuals in the room. Now, some of them may be intimidated to actually connect with the four of you, right? Because of everything that you shared today. And so one of my thoughts is, because Craig, you mentioned you're out of town watching your kids do hockey or do family or do things like that, and someone's actually assisting you back here in the office, let's say, right? Or Brian, maybe your team's busy, you don't have someone else, you need someone else to do an open house. So my curiosity from the four of you is, what would you like from the people here in the crowd or people in the office? How would you like to get to know them if you had an opportunity for them? Are you following me? Because again, I think sometimes people are like, wow, I don't know if I'm ever going to get to Chris's level or Craig's level or Vanessa or Brian's level. Well, you were all new at one point. You've all gotten there through hard work, but sometimes it's that sweeping the water. It's some other person just saying, okay, I'm aware of it or I'm in relationship with it. Craig, my guess is you're in relationship with the person you said, please take my clients out for me while I'm gone. I think sometimes I see posts from new individuals say I'm available this week to do an open house, but I think these four probably have no idea who you are. And would you let them do that open house if you don't know them?
I would piggyback on that. I've seen those posts and I've made them. So I'll see a post that someone's like, I'd really like to learn how to do open houses. And I hope you're not here because this is a specific example. And I replied and said, I would be more than happy to have you shadow me. Here's my phone number. Here's my email. I have open houses coming up the next few weeks. Never heard from the person. I've also posted on Facebook when I am not available to do open houses because I'm out of town or have other client activities or whatever. And I hear from people who are like, I just want to get out and do open houses, and crickets. So, I think more than anything, if that's something you think is part of your business, you're asking for that help follow up.
To your point, it's, I see those all the time. It's like, everything I do is about the relationship. And so whoever's in there is me, basically. It's a reflection of me. And so I'm not just going to hand that off to anybody. So if anybody's interested, then take me out to lunch, let's talk, or just meet in the office for 30 minutes. Let me get to know who you are, who are your goals, how do you treat clients? Don't just say, oh, I treat them well. It's like, okay, well, what is that?
Yeah.
What is your business philosophy around that? And if it's a match, cool. Let's piggyback.
Agree, because you're not going to let just anyone in your client's house to do an open or to follow up and show houses for a buyer.
Open houses are like gold. And quite frankly, we've had 3 listings this year so far, specifically that have sold to people that have come through open houses. So number one, when I'm talking with sellers, I reiterate that point that no, this isn't just for us to meet people. It's for us to meet buyers that are going to potentially buy your house. But then number 2, like I said, how well do we follow up with those people and get their information and have conversations? Because like that feedback I get from my open house for my sellers is crucial. And so if I'm not having good conversations and understanding who's really coming in and out and taking copious notes to share with my seller on that, again, I don't want just a person to sit there for 2 hours. I want someone who's going to be proactively engaging with people. So if it's a new agent, I see a couple in this room that have reached out to us that have done open houses for us and have done a wonderful job. We've also had some where we're like, yeah, we're probably not going to have them again. And it's because they didn't do some of those things to that level. But again, in terms of, engaging us, I mean, like Parigi is probably a great example. I don't know if he's watching, but he came and reached out to me and asked me to schedule some time. And we sat down in my office for like an hour and talked about his business. And it was great. And he came back about a month later. He's like, oh my God, I've gotten a couple of leads since then. It's been great. So, I mean, happy to carve out time. It's just a matter of, like I said, being proactive and engaging us.
I'll say these 4 folks don't have to be here and they're not paid to be here. At least I don't think they are. Maybe somebody's paying them.
I thought there was like,
But people here are willing to help, right? Like that's the situation. If you're struggling with what do I do next or need direction, like obviously the leadership team is here, but there's also boots on the ground that are diligent about helping people. The one thing I heard today as a common theme is all their businesses are different, but it sounds like each one of them really tracks how many real estate conversations they are having or need to have. If you do nothing else, focus on how many real estate conversations you can have in a day and a week, and your business will grow. Cool. Can we give it up for these folks? I lied, it's 12:02. I went over. I apologize.
He started late.
That's fair. We did
That was an hour.
Yeah, you're right.
Good job, team.
Good job.
Good job.